Hello and welcome to this episode of Mission ICU Talk Show. And today we are delighted to have Preeti Reddy with us. Preeti Reddy is the chairwoman of Kantar. And Kantar has been a big supporter of Mission ICU and many other projects. So today we are taking this opportunity to talk to Preeti. But before that, let me introduce her briefly. Preeti has spent the last 3 decades with Kantar in multiple roles. But I think what stands out is the different types of roles she has played across the organization and the causes that she has championed across the organization, including diversity and inclusion, the impact, and all that. And we'll get to all of that in a little bit. She has been the prior to Kantar. She has been the CEO of LMRB in Sri Lanka. She also headed Mindscape, which was a consulting division of Technopack. And interestingly, Preeti, we have a connection through Ritika Arora, who was also at Technopack at that time.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Preeti is also the chairperson of CII Indian Women's Network. She has a degree in economics from Lady Shri Ram College and is an MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur. It's a delight to have you on this show, Preeti, and so looking forward to getting into this conversation. What we wanted to do was three parts of this conversation. One is really looking at what has been the transformation from Kantar's point of view post-pandemic in the world. Second is about the changing landscape in terms of CSR impact and how your organization is thinking about it. And thirdly, we will get into some of the causes that you are passionate about and how you are helping other people thrive in this environment.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
without further ado, let me start with this. So, Kantar is known globally for its capabilities in research, understanding people behavior. What has changed? The obvious question is what has changed post pandemic?
Ashwin, first of all, it's a honor to be a part of this. We have Kantar, as you said, has been associated with ICU, with Mission ICU, and we're we're really proud to be part of this. Hello.
Hi, Kriti, I can
Ah,
hear you.
okay. Because I just got a message saying that somebody's having a connection issue. I was wondering if it was me. Anyway, so yeah, so we've been tracking human and consumer behavior both during and after the pandemic, and we've seen change. Some of those changes uh, have been temporary and lasted only as long as the pandemic, and some of them are more fundamental changes in how. So, in the beginning, for instance, we saw that there was really very cautious spending. There was insecurity around job losses. There were heightened concerns with health and immunity, and of course, the digitization of shopping, entertainment. Uh, and then there was a lot of proactive upskilling because people were again wondering whether they will have, whether they will be relevant for the future. And there was this collective consciousness actually towards sustainability. It
Mm,
was almost an epiphany of sorts. And what we are seeing now is that actually things are returning back to normalcy quite fast.
mm,
Uh, you know, the Indians are an amazingly resilient, optimistic set of people, and you are seeing it around you. The airports are full, flights are full, restaurants are full. Everybody's. They're calling it revenge travel, revenge shopping, revenge everything. But So we are returning back to a consumerist society, but what is happening is that some of the big ticket items are being postponed. So everyday expenditure is coming back, and really the spoil sport in all this has been inflation. If inflation had not hit us the way it has, uh, we would have actually seen a replay of America and the Roaring Twenties almost. We were so ready to consume. Uh, and we Kanta also is now running a global issues barometer, which is about pandemic, Ukraine war, all whole lot of stuff, and uh, unemployment, health, COVID remain constant concerns. uh, Climate change has become quite big, and of course inflation and the increasing cost of living. So to my mind, the most significant change has been uh, this concern for the environment, the concern for climate change, and the fact that they're saying that the government and companies and businesses need to be held responsible both for the economic problems that they're facing and the environment issues we're facing. And they have to lead the conversation on sustainability and purpose. So really, this is, a broad brush. We of course have a lot more detail, but this is broad brush. I would say that attitudinally we are back to consuming. Physically, we are a little short of money because of inflation, and we are becoming better citizens in terms of our environmental concern or our environmental consciousness.
Nice, nice.
Mm.
No, that's interesting. So, what you're saying is, people, while the way we work, the way we live, the way we think has also changed,
Change, yeah.
but fundamentally we are the same
Yes,
people, right? And
the same
but one
people.
interesting thing that you mentioned is that people are now becoming conscious about sustainability and also, uh, finding ways to hold people accountable,
Right,
right?
absolutely, absolutely.
So, how do you see this in this focus on sustainability? Uh, how do you see this panning out in the next few years or this decade?
We are predicting that it will, and we're already seeing it actually globally. We are seeing that it is becoming more and more of an issue. Consumers are making choices based on how whether they think a brand or a company is good for the environment or not, or do they have purpose and values. Employees are making choices on the company they will work for. If
Mm.
if they depending on how they see the company, uh, the company's concerns with issues like these. So we have actually, in response to this, recently last year we launched a sustainability practice, which is we use consumer understanding to help companies actually develop their social purpose or their sustainability agenda. Because if you have to companies in the what they're bit don't know how to go about it, in the sense that they also understand consumers are looking to them for this. Consumers are not going to lead the charge, they will have to lead the charge. But the issues remain, where do I play, what do I suppose I do it wrong, consumers might think I'm just greenwashing, as they say. And then my company is siloed. How do I get the whole company to move behind a certain purpose? So we help them in that, and it starts with human centric transformation. We start with the consumer, and the consumer expectations are different depending on which market you are, which sector you are, which category you are in. And also what you do has to be aligned with the brand that you represent. I mean, we can see that some brands really get it wrong, uh, because the purpose or what they are they're kind of putting their money behind is not aligned with their values and their brand's values. So we're doing that.
Mm.
And it's really important, and to zoom in on the 7 SDGs and see which one of them are relevant for your market and your category. So we help companies do that, but we're also kind of doing an inside out approach, and then we are walking the talk, and we're trying to do that, build that sustainability transformation within the company as well. So, I mean, we try to make them plant a tree. There's
Hi, Preeti. I think looks
I
like we have a
I'm
little bit of technical issues. But I heard you till you were talking about walking the talk yourself.
yeah.
At that point, you got
Oh,
disconnected.
okay. So that's basically what we've been doing. And we're also building our own sustainability goals. Uh, so by doing, we've done a survey ourselves.
Mhm.
What is our company want? So this is something that we feel you cannot deliver as a service. It's a service we offer, but you can't deliver as a service unless you yourself are completely immersed in it. So that's
Right,
what we've been doing.
right,
It's becoming very important.
right. And is this the first time in sort of corporate history where what the consumer wants or what your end user wants and what your employee wants is sort of converging? I know that you are a big supporter of diversity and inclusion.
Yeah,
That was really internal, right? The companies could do something. It was not
yeah,
really.
yeah,
Is,
yeah.
is this is this a unique time that
I think
corporates?
it's a yeah. You're absolutely right. I think it's a unique time in the sense that, and I think the pandemic has been actually, in a sense, responsible for it. Companies have done it. It's not that it's not been done globally, but uh, we are just seeing that it has that much more impact if you can get the external and the internal to work together, because internally we've had IND initiatives, gender, LGBTQI, all of that. But if you have to make more impact, then you have to marry the internal with the external, and that's what we're trying to do.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. And just to go back on this point of diversity, inclusion at Kantar and the other organizations that you've been associated with,
Right.
what is your view? Have we made significant progress or there is still work to be done? Or what's your view as chairperson of this?
I think we've made a start. I don't think we're anywhere near where we need to be. And it's also very varied depending on which sector, which company you belong to. Typically, the multinationals are a little ahead of the game because of their global corporates have been at it a little longer. But I think now there is enough, at least in the corporate world in which we belong, there is sustained and consistent effort looking at long-term initiatives, partnerships, at trying to make a difference. And what is happening is that the younger people who are joining us are very it's very important to them, and that's and they are important to us. So the so it's uh, it's something that we have to do, not only because it makes good, I mean, it's good for society, but it also makes good business sense
Yeah,
to you know to do that.
yeah, yeah. No, you're so right. I think in the last 25, 30 years, the needle has really moved, right?
Moved, yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
25 years, people if you were talking about diversity inclusion, you were sort of a outlier. Now, if you don't
Yeah,
talk, you are an outlier, right? So,
you're an outlier.
so
Exactly.
I think
So,
hopefully sustainability will also go
yeah,
along that path. Like you said,
exactly.
younger people
Yeah,
will demand
yeah,
and
yeah.
and
And actually, what's happening, Ashwin, also is that uh, there is people are also recognizing that there are different kinds of diversity. At one point in time, it was women, and women still remain very important
mm,
because they are such a large constituent, and they are uh, still not nowhere near where they would need to be. But there are other kinds of marginalizations, and there are other vulnerabilities that people are recognizing.
mm,
So
mm.
that's also good because it brings even more diversity to the diversity agenda.
Right, right, right. And as a business leader, so many younger companies or maybe traditional businesses say, this is too expensive
Mm,
for us, right?
mm,
And it is
mm,
expensive. You have to
mm,
allocate time, space, mind
mm,
space,
mm.
money, all of that. Is this a decision that you have to also struggle with?
In the case of Kanta, we've not had really to struggle with it. But what we do struggle with, I think, uh, is getting the entire organization involved, and getting so that it becomes an agenda for everybody in the organization, not just for some 10 people who are running a steering committee, etc. So
Mm,
it should not the I think what we are trying hard to do is to make it everybody's, not, I don't want to say KPI, but at least uh, make people realize that they also have a role and a responsibility in this in the diversity agenda.
mm,
So
mm,
we are actually, India is a little luckier in the sense that we also have this CSR money,
mm,
in and you can and we can kind of tie the whole thing together and use the CSR money for external amplification
mm,
of our values, and demonstrate through that to our internal stakeholders that that we are doing good, and you can be involved in doing good, and you can make an impact. So it's a nice, what shall I say, it helps us, the fact that the government has mandated that you
mm.
have to have spend money on, it's not there in any other country that I can think of.
Right, right, right. Well, that's an interesting point. I think, like you said, the challenge is how do you sort of channelize this throughout the organization, not
Nation.
just not
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
niche group. And is there something unique that you have found works to sort of percolate this across the organization?
So, we've done a couple of things. We've set up employee resource groups. I think people do that. So the employee resource groups are helpful. We have internally we have like a shadow exco called the RT30, which is people under 30 who are also part of decision making. And then we have another cohort called the Club 10, which is middle level managers. So we are using them as the and they're influencers. So we're using them as the influencers to spread the word. And I think the other thing that just helps is constantly communicating. This is what we are doing, and hey, look, this is we recently, for instance, we had um, Dr. Akai, I think her name is, who she's a transgender, who she's an activist. She came and spoke to us. We had, and she said, what can you do other than creating awareness? How can you help us? So we have hired somebody who's a transgender as an intern for
Nice.
from her organization. And the more you do things like this, the more you tell people this is what you're doing, and we are celebrating every we have divided in the organization. We've said there's gender at women at Kantar, we have sustainability at Kantar, we have wellness, we have the Pride at Kantar, and of course the women equipping women for life, which is our CSR initiative. So we have these are our groups, and we've constituted employee resource groups around that. So and and they celebrate a day, they do something throughout the year. Plus we have metrics for each of them saying that once this is what you have to do to say that you've been effective.
Mm.
Otherwise you can do something or the other all the time and it's not making difference. But
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
I mean, we are in the measurement business, so we should measure our own efforts as well.
Right, 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 right.
Mm.
That's great. That's great. No, I think this is an interesting sort of framework, if you will. You
Mm.
know, obviously, um, creating commitment across the organization and
Mm. Yeah,
celebrating everyday wins, and also I think sort of building a community around these initiatives.
around this. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
finally, what you said, making sure there is enough cash available to support these initiatives. I think all of these have to come together. And also, like you said, measuring whether it
Mm.
works, whether it is making that impact.
Yeah,
And I think as an organization, we have seen that you've focused on that quite a lot. So maybe a little bit on how do you build that kind of organization which is not only doing all this but also measuring and learning from it and then bringing it back to your business, so to say.
yeah.
Is there an active focus on building this?
There's absolutely an active focus on that, Ashwin, because, like I said, that is our business. We do it for clients, we do it for brands, we do it for services. So one of the things we have said is, um, uh, I mean, we do have CSR money, but it's not a lot of money. It's not, we are not the largest fund or the foundation in the country or anything. So basically, what we said was that if even with this money we want to make impact, we must for each of these, the gender issue, the we must align it with what we do. So each of them have also a goal that they must do some kind of a benchmark study or something, which can be used as currency for stakeholders, etc. For instance, we are planning a study with an academic institution on women in the labor force. I mean, everybody knows that it's dropped dramatically. Women in the labor force, the percentage has dropped, and everybody has their own hypotheses on why it is happening, etc. So we're trying to do like a pan-national study which actually identifies exactly what those reasons are, the diagnosis of that,
Hmm.
and then take that to policymakers, stakeholders, advocates. I mean, do advocacy around it to uh, to help improvement. And I'm saying that's how we multiply our impact. So we
Right.
have, for instance, a study that we do globally, which we do in India as well, called it's called the Reykjavik Index, where we actually index people's perceptions of women in leadership positions in different sectors, including politics, police, army, corporate, etc. And then we measure whether that is changing over time or not. We
Mhm.
have a study on which is called the inclusion and diversity study, where we measure our own inclusion and diversity, but we can also measure for an organization, how what do your employees think in terms of how inclusive and diverse are you. So
Mhm.
that's really what we're trying to do in term because otherwise we tell our clients, for instance, that a good CSR initiative is when it is aligned with your brand. So how do we do that for ourselves? And
Right.
we are in the business of data for decision making. So that's what we're trying to do, to as I said, amplify our impact.
Great, great. So, Preeti, we will come back to these questions because I think there's a lot to talk about, particularly the changing shape of CSR, both
Right,
for yourself and for clients.
right.
And also, we obviously we would love to hear your views on your association with Mission ICU. But before that, if we can take a quick 10 minutes for our special guests.
Yeah,
Uh,
are they have they come?
yes,
Oh, great.
yes.
Okay, okay,
Team
okay,
from We Are One,
okay.
I believe
I'm just gonna
Hussein.
mute myself.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Preeti. So Hussein has joined us, and thank you for making the time and joining us, Hussein.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but I think there's a problem on the camera. I think. Can you show me?
We can
I'm on
hear
display.
you. We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay, just. I don't know what's this.
Okay, as you are getting the camera to work, Hussein, so maybe I'll take a minute to introduce our special guests.
Sure,
Every
sure.
episode, we have a guest who inspires us with their story. And today, we have invited Team We Are One, who have reinvented Indian classical dance on wheelchair. The team comprises of various dancers in different forms, Bharatanatyam and others, and they've also performed in more than 15 countries, recognized globally, and have presented the Indian wheelchair classical dance. So we're very delighted to have the founder Husnain and the group with us, and we'll get into the conversation in a minute. Husnain, can you hear us? Okay, we can see you.
Yeah,
Yes,
hi.
great.
Yes.
Husnain,
Okay.
yes, perfect.
Hi, namaste.
Thank you, Namaste. Thank you, and welcome to this show. We are so delighted to have you all. Um,
Our pleasure.
yeah, tell us how did this start? How did you think of this initiative? A little bit about yourself as well.
Basically, it's not a journey, a small journey. It's it's
We can hear you.
okay. Basically, it's not a journey of small journey. It's a journey of past 15 years. When I was just only, you can say 13, 14 years old. So I started a mission that differently able persons can achieve everything what an able person are achieving in the society today. Right. Being as a differently able person, because I have a both governance polio problem I have. So there is only my mission is to provide the four causes for all the differently able peoples what they are. Every person who are differently able must have the dignity, equality, inclusion, and empowerment. These four causes I'm working for it. And as a VR1 is a platform where we are showing the Indian classical dance on the wheelchair, which is first of its kind in the world. Never in India and never in abroad, never in foreign countries, no one had did Indian classical dance on wheelchair, and we are the professionally dancers on the wheelchair. We have performed on the birthplace of Bharatanatyam in the Chennai. We have performed 3 hours non-stop Bharatanatyam dance. And all the gurus, Padma Shri, Padma Guru, who said that what you have shown us, it is remarkable. We have never seen this kind of things because for the professionally Bharatanatyam dance, you need to be a proper fit by your legs, by your hands. It was not possible that a differently able person can do Indian classical dance. But I am not saying that I am doing. Today, our wheelchair are doing Indian classical dance, base of this.
Nice, nice. And how big is the team? Like, how do you
Actually,
have like a core team, or you have dancers from all over the country joining you?
right now, not from the countries. Actually, there is only from the India, different states. We have the many dancers. I started this organization with 9 people, but today around 85 to 90 performers who are very young, small age, right around 4, 8, 5 years, and they are also senior citizens. They have around 71 years old. 65 years old. They all are connected with our organization. And he is Gulshan Kumar. He is the choreographer of We Are One. And one thing that he have registered his name in Guinness Book of World Record for doing manual number of spins on a wheelchair.
Oh,
He is Vijay Kumar. He is the logistic manager in our organization, We Are One. I mean, all the 9 persons with whom I started this organization, everyone have their multiple work. They are performing, but with this, they are doing their backside the work, backside the stage work. Like someone is there who is in the choreography, someone is there who is at the lighting sound, someone is there who is at the logistic managing. Everyone has a responsibility of many kinds of responsibility they are managing.
nice, nice. And when you started 15 years ago, this, like you said, it's a unique concept. You must have faced a lot of challenges in the beginning, no?
Yeah, it was because how in the starting what I faced that no one different level people were popular. I think if we go back past 15 years, you can see whenever you saw any special level persons, right? You can see a polio affected person. You can see they are not popular. They are doing just a similar job or staying at home, not coming outside, not trying to establishing yourself. Because they have the similar mentality that they have. Because my father has this also main mentality that what you can do,
Hmm.
just do study more and do just only a similar job on
Hmm.
a private or government, whatever best you can do. Alright, but only you have to focus on your study. But when I entered in a dancing, right, my father believes that it is not possible to do a different level person can dance. Right. So in 2013, I started an organization with the name of Life Success to encourage to all the different level peoples. But due to some crisis, I was not able to run it continuously because I get very financially crisis at the time. But challenges I faced that whenever I approach to anyone that I can dance, people try to laugh on me. They think that how you can do it. It is not possible for me. But today, I am so happy that people are calling me that your dates are available. Your team dates are available. It's very important that what transformation we have achieved in the past 15 years, life of different level peoples, it means that something I have achieved in my life and what problems I have faced as a disability, right? I will try, I'm trying that those people who are differently able, they should not be get this kind of problems what I have faced. So in my organization, those persons who are coming in our organization, तो वो बोलते हैं, they always try to say it, why I have this kind of child actually. He
Hmm.
can't hear, he can't speak, he's slow learner, he has a disability of Down syndrome. So I always tell them, please do not think about that your child is special. Yes, it's true, it's your child is special because God always give to only those persons who are special. You are special, that's why your child is special. And we are the bigger example. We have settled now, and we are very happy that we are running up their families. They feel proud on us, our family proud on us. They saw us every time on the reality shows, newspapers, the Times of India, Navabharat Times, many realities, many newspapers, media. They are seeing every day on newspapers. So they feel so proud. और आज बहुत खुशी होती है कि हमारे जो पेरेंट्स हैं वो बच्चे पेरेंट्स के नाम से जाने जाते थे बट आज कहानी पूरी उल्टी हो चुकी है कि अब जब कहीं वो जाते हैं तो दे पीपल टोल्ड देम यू आर द फादर ऑफ दिस रोस्टर यू आर द फादर ऑफ गुलशन so it feels very proud moment for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Acha, I mean, now what next? Like, what is your plan? Because
Ah,
you've already done so much, but I'm sure you have bigger ambitions in terms of taking this to the next level.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
What is
exactly
the
what happens actually without aim there is nothing like and aim has to be when you are achieving an aim ready to create a new aim. So my aim is only that I started this life success in 2013. So that was my only small aim. I should attempt a new try with the name of Year One. I started the organization in 2016. All
Hmm.
right, and 2022 right now. Before that, I was working as a freelancer. So I understand that different people person must have to be facing lots of challenges, lots of problems like what kind of accessibility they are facing, what type of knowledge they don't have. But there are many people who don't have everything in their mind, who don't have everything in their abilities. Someone is there who is expert in the dancing, someone is there who is expert in the vocation and art and craft work. So what I think that people must be understand that nothing is impossible in the world. Everything is possible. So my vision is only this: what I have started, it will be making lots of branches. Like right now, we are planning to start an organization in Gwalior. So there are lots of people, and in Himachal Pradesh, two places we are trying to be started our branches in the name of Year One. That's how we will not only suitable for the Indian classical dance. Actually, we will try to provide them the different kind of works where they can earn some money, where they can make their dignity, and where they can get inclusion that we are able at different level. They all are similar. There is no any difference between us.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you very much for those words. I think you have really, not only have you done something amazing, but the way you are thinking about it, of how to change people's mindset, not just about differently abled people, but also about themselves. I think it's very remarkable, and we wish you all the best. I wish we had more time that we can speak
I wish
to,
so.
but we will definitely reach out to you and do a more deeper dive conversation.
Definitely.
And Darshan, if we can invite Preeti also, if Preeti has some inputs. But thank you very much, Husnain,
It's
and
our
your team.
pleasure. Our pleasure.
Something really inspiring, I must say. Uh,
Thank you, ma'am.
Husnain, really very inspiring.
Thank you so
I
much.
wish we could actually spend a little more time with you. Maybe we'll do a separate session and
Yes,
Definitely, it will be our
talk
pleasure
to you.
to be connected with you.
great. Thank you very much, Husnain
Thank you
and
so much.
team. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So that was really inspiring.
I know.
Just a different way of looking at things, and I believe they have trained lots of people in Bharatnatyam and others,
Hmm.
and also the articulation that this is not just a initiative. This is sort of changing mindsets of people is very powerful.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that
Exactly.
also aligns with this part of what we were trying to talk about. How can CSR or even companies
Hmm.
play a role in societal change and not just see things as small projects here and there? What is your thinking, Preeti?
Oh, well, uh, I think it's happening, Ashwin, in the sense that companies are realizing uh, that it is an imperative for them to be a part of at least societal change, at least in terms of economic and social change. Uh, and uh, and like I was saying, it I think we need to keep emphasizing to corporate India at least that it just makes better business sense to lift people out of poverty, to make them, to educate them, to make sure they're healthy, because for a purely selfish reason, that's how your market grows. If your market is just restricted to the top 2% of the country, you will, given the growth imperatives that companies have, they will they will hit a wall very soon. So, uh, as I've been saying earlier, it's in their own selfish interest to make sure that the consumers, or the country's consumers are able to consume. And as a country, we are an aspiring nation. We want to consume. We want to live better. We want to move up the economic and social ladder, and and if corporations are realizing that, and they're doing it through various, through, I think CSR is certainly one way, but increasingly more of them are also volunteering, mentoring, giving time. Money is sometimes much easier to give than time, and actually
Mm,
time is what matters.
right,
So they're doing it. Uh, it is, I think it is becoming front and center for them in terms of their business and other agendas.
right, right. And from your own perspective, you mentioned earlier equipping people for life. Was that correct?
Equipping women for life, actually.
Equipping women.
I mean, we had to focus on something because, as I said, we have money, but not so much money that we can do. There's so much to be done.
Right.
So we chose women as the constituency that we would like to support, because, as I said, they're half our population and only 9% of our labor force, and and the numbers in terms of what could happen to our economy if more women were in the workforce are quite staggering. The and women, whenever something like the pandemic or something happens, it's always the women who are first hit hard. They lose their jobs first. They are the ones who are not paid for the work that they do. I'm saying we're still trying to estimate how much unpaid work is being done by women. So and they also uh, the saying about educate a woman, or and you educate a whole family is really true, because they bring change in a much wider periphery than men have done so far. So we chose women, and we said we will help women become financially independent, because that's actually the only true independence. If you're not financially independent, then you really don't have freedom. So and it's not about creating more, necessarily more lawyers and doctors and engineers. It's about giving them skills that will help them either become entrepreneurs, or skills that will help them do jobs that will empower them without having to go through complex long education systems. So that's what we are focusing on, and we are selected. The partners that we work with, the NGOs we work with, are doing those, for instance.
Nice. Nice.
Mm.
And one thing that I always wonder about is when you think of such a sort of transformative theme, right? Equipping women for life. Do
Mm.
you also get an opportunity to collaborate with other companies who are also thinking along the same lines?
Yes, we do. In fact, that is one of our. I mean, we are collaborating with you. It's not necessarily for women, but we are constantly looking to see who else can we work with, who can uh, who can help us in this endeavor.
Mm,
And for instance, you spoke about the fact that I'm chairperson of the Indian Women's Network.
mm,
So that's basically a platform for professional women to develop their careers, and also for entrepreneurs to give them a platform to showcase what they're doing. But through them, we are looking at, for instance, one of the things that we're doing is actually uh, police women in Gujarat, where we're teaching them about various things, including hygiene, etc., etc. But also mentoring, also helping, as I was saying, entrepreneurs, giving them improving their financial literacy.
mm.
So yes, we do associate with other partners like this. We do there is an organization called Vedika, which runs you may have heard of it, which runs a MBA course only for women,
Right.
and it's a management course only for women. So we've been associated with them, and we help them in whichever way, including they have a very interesting program where the girls who study there shadow a female leader for a
Mm.
couple of months. So we're part of that, and and whenever we can showcase, highlight women's achievements through, we do that. Yes.
Great. I think the recurring theme I'm hearing you say over and over again is this mentoring. Sort of it has come up multiple
Mm.
times. Is
Mm.
that something that you, as an individual, sort of put your weight behind?
Yeah, I mean, we have. It has been, I think, has been found to be one of the ways in which actually you can to uh, give back for what you have received, and it's an important initiative for me because I was helped in at various stages of my career uh, by people who believed in me, who encouraged me, who were sounding boards for me. So I think that is it only behoves us to when if you're in a position to do the same, then you should. And for a long time, there are very few, at least at the time when I started working, all our mentors, etc., were men because there were very few women. Uh,
Right.
you whom you could. I mean, we didn't have a network of women, and now at least there is one.
Hmm.
So the more you can multiply that, the more you will help the cause of women.
Great. Great. That's amazing. So we have another 10 minutes or so. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the future plans, like how Cantor is thinking about future plans in terms of impact. Also, your own views on how initiatives like Mission ICU
Yeah, yeah.
could be a good partner. And in general, what do you think could be the message for people who are either in the space of CSR or also in corporate positions?
That's a really big question, Ashwin. But yeah, I was saying that the future is, uh, as as far as I am concerned, I think it is time for me now to, uh, uh, as I was saying, whether you call it mentoring, whatever you call it is time for me now to help other people succeed,
Mm,
and particularly women succeed. So that's what my focus is going to be. But otherwise, as in CSR, I think the what we have seen in recent years, and you've been in this longer than I have, but maybe you have seen this too, is the fact that people are looking at longer term impacts, and that is one of the reasons why Mission ICU was uh, very appealing to us, was because during that COVID time there were so many demands for funds, and so many demands for people were so much in going helter skelter. Some people wanted wheelchairs, some people just wanted food, some people wanted vaccinations. So we did all that, but we said, but you know, this is Mission ICU is one thing which will help people now and will help people even when there is no pandemic.
mm,
And I think that and the impact that it has, you can see. I mean, just the sheer numbers of in one place that is one ICU and you suddenly got 20.
right.
It's what a difference it can make to the health and well-being of people in rural India. Uh, so I think more of that will happen. More uh, of of various stakeholders coming together with a common purpose and a more long-term view. And I think there will be money. Just uh, people will say that, can I think it's always been there, but even more now, to say that the time and effort and money that we're putting behind something, uh, it should not get lost because of poor implementation or uncaring, not not being actually done properly at the ground level. So that is something that I think anybody who's in CSR should insist on, actually, because it is precious money and it should not go for waste.
Right.
That's really what I see is kind of going to happen, and that's
Mm,
good for the sector, I think.
right. Right.
The third thing I think is that uh, I think people will choose causes that are aligned to their values and their beliefs. There's lots to do, but I mean, if for instance, if our my personal interest is women, I mean, somebody else's could be children, somebody else's could be disability, etc. So and so it has to, and the corporate India has to align with, has to make sure that it's very important for them, especially because PNG chooses its social initiatives is very smart, because their main target audience is women, and they always look at women's issues and breaking myths and taboos around women's issues, and it works really well because it's, their brands go to those women, and they are caring for those women as well.
Mhm.
That's basically what my view is.
Great. No, no, this is, I think, very, very useful,
Mm.
Preeti, and it also sums up what we have been talking about
Mm.
in the last 30, 40 minutes, right? And I think fundamentally it goes back to what Husnain and his team were saying. It's all about finding dignity in the things that,
Exactly.
obviously you should find dignity in everything. And then how do you create the environment of empowerment?
Yeah.
And I think you spoke about what is it that you could do as an organization which is obviously sustainable.
Yeah.
More importantly, what is changing that you emphasized a couple of times is how do you make sure that there is accountability in the system, right? And
Correct.
yeah,
Correct. Absolutely.
yeah. And the other two things that you mentioned about mentoring as a value add, it's an exponential value add because you are not only doing a project, but you could really literally change somebody's life, and then they could go on
Yeah.
and do that work.
Exactly. And pay it forward, as they say, right?
Yes,
It,
yes, yes.
mm,
And the last piece that you mentioned is there are many causes. There's no dearth of causes today
causes, yeah. Yeah.
in this world. But how do you find the issues which are aligned with your beliefs and values, and then going after them? I think these are all interesting,
Mm.
uh, ideas that people, I'm sure, will find useful as they go about thinking about CSR and future of corporations and their role in impact. But thank you very much, Preeti,
Thank
for
you,
your time.
Ashwin.
It's been a delight to speak to you as always. And I hope that we will continue to interact and share our learnings with each other. Uh,
Absolutely.
so thank you very much for your time. I also want to thank Husnain and his team for their wonderful interaction, and I'm sure that we will be talking with them again.
Thank
Um,
you, Ashwin, and thank you, Mission ICU. It's, as I said, it's an honor and a privilege to be associated with you. I, I, and thank you for actually summarizing what I was saying so well. You did it better than I could have.
it's our pleasure, Preeti. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.